If you like what you're seeing and hearing, please consider subscribing to the podcast. You can go to either Apple iTunes, the Google Play Store, Spotify, or Amazon Music in the podcast section. It'll hit Monday morning or Sunday afternoon, depending on when it posts. And the video will hit on YouTube and Spotify Monday. Spotify will hit Monday evening, and YouTube it'll hit Monday morning, 7 a.m., just like it does for the audio services. So please go to those places and consider subscribing or listening to the show. You can also write to me at gwgpodfellows@gmail.com if you want to write me a letter. Let me know what you think of the show, things like that. Or you can also find me on Twitter at JustLittleJoe. So go to those places and please consider liking and subscribing. Thanks. And with that, we'll get on to the episode. Hello, my name is Joseph Carlson, and this is episode 249 of Gaming with Grief. And this episode is all about Banishers Ghost of New Eden. This is a spoiler review, so I'm not going to ruin everything, but I'm going to reveal big plot points. So if you haven't played the game or you don't care, you can, if you haven't played the game, obviously play the game. I'm going to talk about it in detail. If you don't care, you don't care, and you can listen to the episode. But before we get into like the proper review and stuff like that, I just want to give you some background information because I screwed some stuff up when I did my early impressions. I'm going to read directly from the Focus Entertainment website. The game has an amazing website that you can go to, but I'm just going to read directly from that. In Banishers Ghost of New Eden, you assume the roles of a couple of Banishers, experienced spirit hunters, entrusted with the daunting task of lifting a benevolent and ominous curse, become a beacon of hope in a world consumed by darkness, and find a way to reunite with the love of your life. In New Eden, 1695, a community of settlers are plagued by a haunting curse as Banishers step into their lives, investigate the sources of evil, and unravel the chilling mysteries, explore diverse landscapes, and interact with the unforgettable characters whose fate lies in your hands. Play as both characters. You're either Red. I'm going to read about Red because I screwed this up. Red was once a remorseful mercenary hunted by the ghosts of his past victims. He found redemption through Antiva's saving grace, and their love blossoms amidst. However, when Antiva tragically passes away, which is in some of the trailer stuff I showed you before, Red faces a heart-wrenching dilemma between his love and his vows as a banisher. Or you get to play as Antia. Antia, a renowned and highly skilled banisher. After an ill-advised attack, Antia is killed, leaving her lover in solitude and profound despair, unable to move to the next plane of existence, whatever that is. Antia returns as the thing she despises most, a ghost. Torn between her bond with her beloved and the nightmare of her new condition, she makes Red swear to help find deliverance from this horror. And I screwed it up, not really screwed it up, but I wanted to go into more depth because one thing I'll talk about in the main review is the performance of the main leads, as it were. So I got this from GameLeap.com, and everything I've shown here or I've seen here kind of matches up with what I've seen on IMDb. So I hope I didn't mess up, and I hope GameLeap didn't mess up. So the main characters, Amaka Okorafor, I hope I probably screwed that up. She's playing Antia Duarte, pitch perfect. Also, Russ McBain is Red McWraith. A lot of people made fun of the McWraith name. I think it's pretty neat. Actually, don't really know how Scottish it is. I imagine they probably talked to somebody. So, it's fine. It's fantasy. You can make whatever your name is. And the supporting cast, I just want to shout out a couple people. There's Ildiko Presley, I think is how to say her name. She played kind of the main villain, is all I'll say. I mean, I know I'm getting into spoilers, but I'll wait until the second part of this or after the intro to get into that. And listen, there's Eric Gaines as various characters. There's Jennifer McKinnon as Jane Wampum, which I think she played a native. If I remember right, I ran into her. She played like a Native American, basically. And they do make mention of the Native population, not in a bad way. But yeah, I don't want to go into everybody in the cast, but to be honest, I'll get into more of the, out of the intro. But there was, I think there was like a line of dialogue where I was like, that's weird. Everything else was just, in my opinion, pitch perfect. So with all of that intro stuff out of the way, we'll get into the main review right now. So I'm about to show you something that I think makes Banishers Ghosts of New Eden, very special. This like happens pretty much near the end of the game, but I think it sums up very nicely one of the themes of the game, and I think it says something pretty good about grief as well. So you're kind of looking at me go through a menu because I was kind of, you know, waiting, you know, stalling for time. But here is the scene I'm talking about.
Okay, shite. Look, I couldn't talk about it.
Couldn't talk about what?
You accused me of pretending not to see that you're dead.
That's how I feel, Red. You have to accept it.
I couldn't face your death. I admit that. I rely on you. Your presence reassures me. I dread your absence. I can barely bring myself to think about it. I don't wish to deny your pain. No. Just try to deal with mine.
Wow. That's... I hadn't thought of it that way. Thank you for your honesty.
We, erudite men of higher learning, know that evil yet walks. There is much work to be done.
Indeed there is.
Yes, yes. Forgive the inelegance of my welcome. You are alone. Do I surmise that Miss Duarte is no more?
And this is another moment, just another moment in an endless string of just really good, in my opinion, really good kind of lines about grief. Listen up.
I'm so sorry for your loss. Grief is a journey, long and painful, but you do not walk the road alone, I promise you.
And there comes a time when you must let go and walk on alone.
In time, God healed my wounds. May you too find peace. Now.
So this is basically just me walking through the open world and just kind of showing off some gameplay. Now, you know, I'm not one to really critique combat or anything like that. And I actually found it pretty good towards the end. I do think, you know, I've read around somewhere or, you know, read other reviews because they obviously review different things that I do that, you know, maybe this isn't the best part of the game, and, you know, maybe this studio doesn't have that much experience with combat, but I enjoyed it. I mean, that's pretty much all I'm going to say about combat. But I wanted to get, there's one more thing I kind of wanted to show you before I get into, like, the main crux of, you know, my review and things like that. So let's get on to that. So I'm just going to let some of this scene play out, and this is basically you meet a witch, and, well, basically in a witch's apprentice, and you find out that the witch, Cyrodiil, is actually very old, and she is actually dying. So this is kind of like the moment of her death. So again, spoilers. I just want to show this because I think it's very touching. So I'm going to let some of this just play out. So, you know, enjoy, I guess, maybe. Or just, you know, sit back and just listen to Daga. Like I said, this is all well acted.
You called us.
Did I? I thought I had more time. In the end, it runs out for all of us. As I depart this old carcass, I leave no burning heart behind. Go or stay. To prevail, you must first set your heart at peace. When at last you face the nightmare, you must both be clear on what you want. You must.
What do you mean?
It is not for me to give you answers, only to prepare you for what awaits. Then we can all go to sleep. Seeker doesn't hate you, Rory. She's just not used to being trusted. Protect her. For me.
Yeah, so this is just me fighting a big monster. But this whole game, and that's why I think this game is so special. Like I said in the intro, all the haunting cases you investigate, and I wasn't able to do all of them, obviously, because I'm reviewing the game, are so moving and so well acted. And everybody in this harsh land of New Eden has something I think unique and pretty amazing to say about death. And it's these people's experiences of this harsh land, and that what it enacts of people, and basically makes them sacrifice to be part of this new place. And the fact that I said it in my early impressions, but I'll say it again. There is a history here. There is like these lore pieces around the edges. You find more out about demonologists in texts you read on tables. You find more about witches. You just listen to a scene of Ciridan the witch, which apparently is a Gaelic word, and Red apparently reacts to that and says, wait, does that mean this? And Ciridan's apprentice, Seeker, says, I don't know what you're talking about, because she's a colonist or whatever. It's like, I don't know what you're talking about. But I think what's great about it is everybody has been affected. I mean, this is going to sound strange. Everybody has been affected by tragedy, but they all have kind of profound things to say about it. This isn't something, some people are lost in a grief, and you find out through some of your investigations that some people are kind of like, it makes them blind. Maybe they treat people poorly because they've actually hurt them in their love and they didn't know that. All these kind of things. I'm definitely going to go back. I'm going to play the game again. I want to 100% it. I want to dip into the cases I haven't. In fact, later in the game, you go and run into people that you've solved haunting cases for, and they talk about what happened after you helped them out. And I was just blown away that there was that level of, there was that level of like thought and care to these people's stories. Also, this is kind of an old tale, right? You basically, again, spoilers for this podcast, but you basically find out that the main villain is somebody who has been wronged in town. She's basically an intelligent woman that saw that there was a plague in town and tried to use science and deduction to figure out what was going on. But obviously the people in town, being religious, and yes, I hate to say it, men, looked at her and the fact that she was intelligent and were threatened by it. And they thought she was practicing witchcraft, which she was not. So basically, the men of New Eden, the guy that you heard from earlier, Fairfax Haskell, he's the one that talked about, grief is a journey and things like that. He basically was there at the trial, and many other people that you run into haunting cases were there at the trial as well. And nobody spoke for this woman, Deborah, who turned into the nightmare that killed Antea. And so, since no one spoke up with her, the nightmare was kind of born out of Deborah's fury and retribution, and that's what you fight. And in the game, you have the choice to sacrifice people, suck the soul out of them, and hold on to it, and perform a dark ritual to kind of resurrect Antea. But in the very beginning of the game, you make the choice. You can say either to resurrect her or to let her ascend like you have for other people in haunting cases. Now, I talked about in my early impressions, I'm a goody two shoes. You basically have three options when you get to haunting people. Those options are, you can either banish them, ascend them. You basically let them off the hook. You basically say, move on, just let's done be done. Maybe, the act of ascending, they go to heaven. In this world, nobody's really sure what happens, but they know you have the power. You're a judge, jury, and executioner. But what I think is really interesting is, because you don't know, everything's a little bit nebulous, and it actually makes the decision harder. Now, the other thing you can do is blame the humans. Like I said, you suck the soul out of them. You either banish the ghosts, which don't affect the ending, or you ascend them. That basically allows you to allow Antea to ascend. And they give you these little prompts like, hey, this will affect this ending. This will affect the other ending. There is a good and bad ending. I think I read online, so many people, the game's been out for a little bit. People have done some things. They said that there was actually... there's actually 5 endings, depending on who you let live, who you blame, who you banish, who you suck the soul out of. And after you do these major story beats, there's like these weird kind of fog gray interstitials with people's outlines. I really like the art of it. And it just talks about how people have to move on when or what happens after you leave in the event. So I'm sure when I play it again, because I'm a goody two-shoes and I did the Ascent ending, I basically laid Tia to rest, I can perform the Dark Ritual and bring her back to life. So I'd like to see people's responses to that. And in fact, if you try to be good and you try to, ascend people, people around you get mad. Because obviously or not obviously, some of these people have done bad, wrong things. And the people that are involved in their lives, the people that are haunted, ask questions like, why did you allow that person to just ascend? They were a terrible person. They made me have to start my life over. They ruined the village. I have to start over, from, zero. There, you even run into a slave, a former slave who was given his freedom, and his slave master fell in love with him. And he said that, it was basically, he didn't love her. He was just a dog wanting to get good pets and playing the game so that way she would be nice to him. And when she comes back and talks about how she loved him and everything, he says, you didn't love me. And if you just say, listen, this is terrible, just move on, let it go, and ascend, he gets angry with you and says, why? She's a slave master. She doesn't deserve ascension or pity. She deserves to be banished. There's no reason or logic in the world that would allow that to happen. And that made me really think. Yes, there's part of me going, well, I'm going for the good ending. I'm doing the good thing. But part of me thought, you know what? She made bad choices, but that doesn't mean that in death she should be judged for that. Maybe she can learn the area of his ways. And maybe by Fernando, the slave, seeing that someone gave somebody mercy, he was very cold when you made him. I thought maybe he would learn a lesson from that maybe not to hold on to your anger. I don't know. But that's kind of like how I thought of it when I was doing it. So that's kind of like where I was coming with the game. And again, I think it is very special for a game like this to come along and show these things about grief. So in conclusion, what do I think? Man, every time I had to push forward in the narrative to finish the game for review, which I finished very early this morning, I kept having to stop myself. I wanted to continue to play the game. I wanted to keep doing the haunting cases. I kept wanting to read about the world. I wanted to get every trophy. I got this on PlayStation. I even talked to my wife about getting permission to get one of the collector's edition. It's called Red's Notes Edition, which is a literal leather-bound notebook with art from the game, and you get a calligraphy pen with tips, like an actual feather pen to write notes in his notebook. And you also get it, the game on another whatever platform you choose. I was thinking of getting on Xbox to give to my wife because she's watching me play it and thought to herself, oh, that looks pretty neat. I think I might want to play it. And it kind of blows me away that this early in the year, by a quote-unquote AA developer, that something like this, even though I think it has some shortcomings, some of the traversal is kind of but the fact that I kept wanting to play, even though I knew I had to finish it, I think is such a good sign. And what it says so much about grief and moving on and what we have to do to the people we forget. And the fact that, to be honest, I think I said it in my early impressions, but this game made me actually care about ghosts. My whole life, I haven't really cared about ghosts. I love the supernatural. Ghosts rank very low on that list. But the fact that this game can have really meaningful stories written about people that are trying to work through their grief and what they do about it, I think should be commended. And I think everybody at Don't Nod, at Focus Entertainment, and even the people like the voice actors, everybody should be proud of this game. And I haven't really seen a lot of sales data. Usually companies like this will say something like, when they hit a milestone. It's getting pretty good reviews in the 70s, and I wish it nothing but success. Thank you so much for listening to my long review. I'm trying to include more video footage and stuff like that. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I appreciate it. If you're listening to this as a podcast, you can do that too. Just make sure to like, subscribe, all those things I said in the very, very beginning of the intro of the video. And I think with that, I will see you guys next week. And I'm going to try something new next week. So I'll see if it works. It's kind of an experiment. And we'll go from there. So everybody have a good week. And I will talk to you guys again next